Welcome everyone to another episode of LPF Debrief, where Chris and I talk about comic books, TV shows, and movies. And on today's episode, we will be discussing episode 6 of The Last of Us exclusively on HBO Max. This episode was titled Kin, and it was directed by Jasmila Zabanik, which I hope I said correctly. I know I got the Jasmila part right, but I don't know about the last name. So we will be discussing that, giving you guys our reviews as always. There will be spoilers ahead, so if you guys don't want to hear anything about the episode before you listen to this, go ahead and pause it, go watch the episode, come on back, and then come listen to what we had to say. And also, we would love to hear what you have to say about the episode. If you guys enjoyed it, was it a thumbs up? Was it a thumb down? Let us know down in the comments so that we can interact with you guys and hear some different opinions about what the episode was. So, getting right into it because that's why you guys are here. Episode 6. We are now 3 episodes away from the finale.
And still no Troy Baker.
Yep.
And I'm starting to guess who he is.
I think I know who he is too. I think I know who he is, and yeah. And I hope I'm wrong. But I think I know who he is.
I think me and you both think the same thing.
Yeah, I think we think the same thing, and I think I know who he is. And I mean, yeah. I hope he's not that person, but if he is, it's okay. I'm just glad he's in it. But going into this episode, Chris, what did you think overall? Before we deep dive into everything about it,
it felt like a long episode. First time I felt like every dark scene that we got, I thought it was like credits, and it's like, nope, we're gonna keep going. I'm like, all right, credits, and it's like, nope, we're gonna keep going. I was like, okay, here we go. Very good episode. More of Ellie and Joel's building. We see Joel break down, having panic attacks, having doubts. We also see Ellie having doubts. And we get a little bit more of, knowing that Joel is not the best guy. We don't really get that in the kind of in the games. You kind of feel like you're the hero and stuff like that. You kind of have, like, okay, he's done some shady stuff, but at the same time, you quickly forget because you're going through, and the love for Ellie is just like, oh man, this guy can't be bad. Like he's doing this thing out here.
Before you go on, I just think with Joel's character, the reason why it's easy to kind of neglect, even in the game, of the bad things he did, because we as humans all have this thing of survival, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like we know that we sympathize with someone who knows he had to survive, but also the fact that we know what happened to him and why he's gotten to the point that he's gotten to.
Yeah.
So like we have a level of sympathy for Joel, even though it may not be warranted, nor is it an excuse for him to have turned into the person that he did. But seeing the emotional breakdown of the character and how he went through what he went through makes us go, well, like he lost his daughter. Like, you know what I mean? So there's that whole complex with us. Like, even though he's doing shady stuff, even when him and Tess were talking about the shady stuff that they were doing, it's just like I get it. Like it sucks and you probably shouldn't do that, but also like you did lose your daughter. So.
Yeah. Was happy to see the same exact time skip from the last episode that does happen in the game. We start in the snow. Same thing with it was a throwback to the bunny, even though it's supposed to be a bow and arrow launching it. We're supposed to see a cute little bunny and then a thing. Don't think it would look as good on TV and people would be upset.
Yeah.
Ooh, thank you. But that old couple cracked me hilarious. Up. Oh my God, so good. They're just living life. They're up there. They know the world ended, but they're chill.
The funny thing is that they were just like, well, we moved here before all that went down.
Yeah,
anyway.
He's like we don't like people, and he's like, well, he doesn't like people. It's not me, it's him. And then the fact that the husband, you could tell that they tolerate each other. Right. Yeah. It's like it's that old couple love of like, this person's annoying, but they're my forever. And you definitely feel that with him whenever he walks in. He's like, you didn't shoot him? She's like, gun's over there.
Yeah.
He's like, you gave him soup? She's like, yeah, it's cold outside. Like, she's just like, I'm just I'm not here to fight. I'm just living my
Yeah.
life. Hey,
And she's also happy to see
another
some
person.
people, like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So, like, because you get that whole relationship vibe of where one of them was the ones who wanted to stay and one of them was the one who wanted to go,
Yeah.
where it's like she was very much of the person like, well, look, I got company. Like, I don't get to make soup for anyone but you. Now, this time, I get to actually make some soup for, another person. So, like,
Yeah.
deal with it.
And also the thing that set it off too of that relationship is whenever Joel's like, point to the map of where we are, and if it doesn't match what your wife's answer, you'll be sorry. And he's like, "Did you tell him the truth?" She's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You telling me the truth? Like, how do I know you're not trying to take me out?"
Yeah.
So, and that set off the whole thing, and Ellie trying to be a badass in that moment, and there's just the older people just laughing at her of like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
spicy little girl over here, that's fine." But it was just a fun episode. For me, it wasn't as much of a sad, like I said, we had its sad moments. We saw, like I said, Joel getting starting to have panic attacks, um which was intense. I didn't realize how much, I don't think, what's his name, Henry and
Sam.
yeah, I don't think Henry and Sam was the thing that set him off. I think it was because Ellie witnessed it. So the fact that, he's like, this little girl's witness, like, she saw me kill a guy, she saw a brother kill a little kid, like his little brother.
She had to help me kill
She had to
someone.
help me kill somebody. Like, it's just a lot of weight on his shoulders, and he knows he's failing. He cries to Tommy about it, and that was a very wholesome moment of him breaking down of like, okay, this guy puts a stone walled face, but behind that wall is pain and sadness.
Mhm.
And I really enjoyed um, watching that moment with him. Um, but also the other thing is too, with Ellie, like, Joel's starting to realize that they're alike because she's like, everybody I cared for has either left or died, and Joel has the same momentum. And the thing is that, she's a lot smaller. She's younger than him, way younger than him. She's 14, and it's just more heartbreaking that she had to go through that. So, but overall, episode was fantastic. We saw the settlement that they end up, or we saw the settlement. I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
anything else, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and it was a really good episode. I mean, they started us off with the comedy relief at the beginning with the couple, which I thought was great. I this episode was rough. Just not in like I love the episode; it was fantastic, but just the emotional toll that you could see, and they did a really good job in this episode of showing that emotional toll that Joel is now having to take in because he's no longer, again, this is a person who tried to block this out, right? He tried to block out being in love with someone or like with Tess, you know what I mean? She kind of crept through. With Ellie, he's obviously not trying to relive a moment of having a love for someone that reminds him of his daughter, right? And not that Ellie and his daughter are direct, but of course, in this situation where he's caring for a person who is, could be like who would be his daughter's age or close to it. Like, you know what I mean? I think his daughter would have been a little bit older, but you know what I mean? Like he's now having to deal with, I tried to close her out. Now just time in trying to get to this place has now made me start growing an affection for this person. Like, you know what I mean? In a fatherly manner, right? So he's like, I have to be protective. And one of the biggest tell when he has that convo with Tommy, which we'll talk about, but he's saying basically like, she had to do all these things, and like you were saying, where he feels bad, but he also realizes that he is starting to, have love for Ellie, and he knows that he can't protect her because he's not the man he was. So because of the love he has for Ellie, we're starting to gain that love for Ellie. That makes it more emotional because he's like, 5 years ago, I could have handled this like easily, but now I'm just getting older. Like I'm not the person I was. Like it's not as easy for me anymore, and I can't in good faith try to protect her to the best that I can because and I care for her, so let me try to cut it off now so I don't have to deal with it later.
yeah,
So that's was a really like strong scene for him. And I mean, Pedro Pascal was absolutely fantastic in that scene. Just the emotion that he's giving off of like I'm not the person I was like, and now I'm seeing the settlement that I'm in. Like this looks like a good place for me to crash down. I found my brother. Like, you know what I mean? I don't want to gain this emotional attachment, but in that moment, he's still trying to be neglecting of it, but he doesn't realize that he's already emotionally attached to Ellie. Like he's trying to talk himself out of being emotionally attached to Ellie, but like you know what I mean. And that's what makes that scene so powerful to me, because it's just like this is a man fighting with himself in order to not have love for Ellie, but he can't help himself because all that time that they've spent together, all the protection and all that stuff, like he can't help it. But and he now knows that he can't protect her because he's not 100%. So there's a lot of like it was a lot of context in that scene, and I thought it was just well portrayed perfectly, in my opinion. They did such a good job. Just the chemistry between, even when they first get to the settlement, and we find out basically like who these people are, and they do the sniff test. We see how panicked he looked when Ellie, because he remembers the scan, right? The scan was the thing that happened. He tells Tommy like, I locked up, I can't do anything, like you know what I mean, like if they were going to rip her apart, and what was I going to do, like, and like just sit there and I would have to watch it. Thankfully, of course, I'm looking for my brother. Ends up finding out that he is looking for his brother. He finally finds Tommy, and they share a really heartwarming embrace. Like, damn,
Yeah,
like
it was
I've
good.
traveled this long, and I find like you're not dead.
The
You know what I
fact that I
mean?
actually
So
found you is
yeah,
because especially in that world, is always expect the worst.
yeah.
So
I
yeah,
mean, they've when you've only seen the worst, that's all you can
yeah,
expect, right? Like
yeah,
you've only seen like literally the worst thing that could happen to Joel happened. Like, you know what I mean? Like it happened early, and but even before this, right? Before like all of it went to crap, the worst thing already happened to him. So now he's looking for his brother. He doesn't want to lose his brother, right? Like so he finally finds someone again that he has and he's close to, and we see a bunch of the things in the settlement. A lot of the things about the settlement, like Chris and I said, we're not going to spoil all that stuff for you because there is a lot of things that happen there. But again, that's for another. We don't want to spoil it. We want you guys to just, if you want to look it up
if you're a
yourself,
fan of the
you can.
game, you know.
You already know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you're a fan of the game and played through the series, you know what that settlement is. You might even know one of the characters that show up later on. It wasn't confirmed by them, but it also wasn't unconfirmed by
It
them.
definitely hit me. Like I was just like, wait a minute.
I instantly was like, "That's her." Like, because like, come on, they're not
Yeah,
like.
yeah,
First of all, you can't have the creator of the game not then be like, "Oh, I'm just going to throw this in." Like that. That's the joy of when you do Easter eggs, right? Like
yeah.
the Easter eggs aren't for everyone, especially when you're doing a video game version of it, right? Like the Easter eggs are for the people who've already played the games or already, been into the whole series. So that's who that's for. And of course, that was the whole point, because why else would you do what they did when that happened? So
Same thing with the
like,
smaller horse. Is that
mhm, yes,
same thing? Okay,
that
okay. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
in, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. That's what I
I
thought. I
mean,
was like,
she even says the name
yeah, but
of the horse. Yeah,
that's what I was confused about. I was like, was that
yeah,
the name? I was
yeah,
like, so
yeah. She
yeah,
even says it. So
yeah.
just a lot. There was a lot of Easter eggs from the game in this episode. Just going through that, but again, we have that whole conversation. We also find out Tommy is married and expecting, right? So it was a really funny moment. Hey, we'd like to have, ma'am, I'm sorry, but I'd like to have a conversation with family. And then Tommy's like, oh, well, technically, you know what I mean? She
And
is.
Joel is a little too rough there, man. I
But this,
like I get the
yeah,
pain and everything like that, and I mean his brother, like he's sitting there. I can understand the saltiness because I'm sitting there. I'm worried sick about you. I'm thinking you're dead and you're out here living your best life, or
literally.
you're like, yeah, you're thriving and
Yeah,
everything like that. You have a wife, you're gonna have a
yeah,
kid. And all I was trying to do was like all you needed to do is tell me like, hey, I'm fine. This is what's up. I can't really talk about it though. Like
yeah,
we can't keep talking like this. I live here. blah blah blah. Or I mean, or you don't even have to tell them where you live. Just let them know that you're okay. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Mhm.
it's just one of those. So I understood both sides, but
Yeah.
yeah,
It's hard because also you especially knowing what Tommy knows, you don't wanna bring in any more out. Like,
yeah,
you don't even want to take the chance to possibly bring someone in, right? So, like, even that's why that whole security from the beginning was kinda like, "Whoa, like, relax," like, you know what I mean? And I thought one of the great lines that they said there was, just because people do bad things doesn't mean make them bad. Like, you know what I mean? Because and it's kind of that weird oxymoron because it's like, wait a second, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's a good idea. Like, I get why you're doing it,
yeah,
but like, you know what I mean? That doesn't still doesn't change what the fact is, because you're still making a judgment based off of your own perception, right? Like you might have deemed that person as bad, and then that's why that person can't come in. Or, I mean, of course, there's a lot of gray area in it all, right? Because some of the people do get brought into the civilization and become part of the thing. I thought it was hilarious when Tommy realized what communist was.
Oh my god, that pause. He was like,
he
yeah.
was
She's like, well, this is a commune, so are communists, and he
he was
just.
like, no. Like, he was like, no, we're not. And then she was like, well, we're a commune governed by ourselves, blah blah blah. Yeah, we're communists. And I was like, you know what I mean?
It's same thing.
It,
He stopped
yeah,
dead in his tracks. He was
yeah.
like,
He was like, damn. He was like, so it, and it's just one of those things where the word, has
yeah,
been. It's we're not getting into that
yeah,
though,
yeah,
but
yeah,
we're
yeah.
just going to talk about that how it was a funny moment in general. But I thought that was great. Like again, the relationships in this game, in this movie, TV show, have been great, right? Like everyone's relationship is pretty solid even before they get to elaborate on it, right? Like you get to know what everyone is kind of feeling, and stuff like that. They do a really good job at having all those kind of conversations. We see that before the conversation that Tommy and Joel have, we see that Ellie gets sent out and seeing some of the stuff that Maria has left her. She actually leaves her the jacket that she gets in the game, also
Yes.
the white jacket with with the white strap. All that stuff is was so good. Like I love that they throw in those little subtle details in there. And they have a conversation that's really deep too, right? Like Ellie finds out about Sarah for the first time because she had no idea. And of course, this is while Maria's cutting her hair. So she finds out about Sarah, and then it kind of makes it like you could see in her face. And Bella Ramsey does a great job at like making it like, oh, it clicks. Like
Yeah.
everything now makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like the bit of information she was missing, now that she's gotten it, she was like, that's it. Like he's had a daughter. Like, you know what I mean? Like it makes a lot more sense why he was so closed off, why he was this person. She doesn't even know how it happened, which I think would make it even, you know, make her understand even more. But that was enough to make her go, oh, okay, I see what's going on here.
And then she
Like I
puts
see.
what's her name in Maria in check.
Yeah. Hmm.
So that's what was good is that she was coming after Joel like he's not a great guy,
Yeah.
don't trust him, blah blah blah, all this other stuff, and she's like, hold on,
Like Tommy was doing that
yeah,
too.
yeah, and he's like, well, he was following Joel. No, he had a choice,
Yeah. Yeah. He had a
and he
choice. He
was
could have
there.
done it. Yeah, he was there for all of that
Yeah,
too. So like don't come at me. And
yeah,
and that's just Ellie showing off her wittiness and her smarts for her age. Because again, she's a trial by fire. Like she's just been through so many rough parts in her life that like she gains that kind of knowledge, even like the whole trusting thing, right? She's like, and Maria says to her, like, you got to be careful who you trust. And then she's like, yeah, I am. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't necessarily trust, like, I'm trusting people based off of their actions,
yep,
which she is with Joe. Like she does trust Joe because Joe saved her life and she saved Joe's life. So again, that expectate like they have a certain kind of connection with them too. And then we find that out later on when the whole after that whole conversation, we see which they changed a little bit from the game, but it kind of made the same kind of sense. Basically, because remember, they do have that same conversation inside the game, but Ellie overhears them. She hops on the horse and then kind of goes into that room
yeah.
that you then see her in later.
Which IGN did
And
another
yeah, side by
side by
side
side.
compares, yeah, which are great. So again, go check those out just to see where they got a lot of where they got the source material from. So seeing that was really cool. And then her reading the book, kind of having the same kind of conversation, like, you just planned on leaving me. Like, you know what I mean? She gets really upset. And Joel, they have a really heated exchange there, right? Like, it's just like, again, Joel is assuming that Ellie's just this 14-year-old who has no idea about like life.
Yeah.
And then she's basically like, no, listen, like, I've lost everyone who's I've ever cared about has either left me or has died. Like, you know what I mean? So don't tell, she's basically like, don't tell me that I don't know what loss is, even though, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He now know she, and then Joel also goes in not knowing that Ellie knows that she knows about Sarah now, right? Because then Ellie kind of strikes that chord, which this is something that where Ellie, like, bro, like, you can't bring that up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how it's hard to, especially, don't say that. Don't be like, I'm not your daughter. Like,
Well, as soon as he
how,
says I'm not her, I was like,
yeah, like,
like
you
you see
can't do
Joel
that.
like
Like,
in the eyes. I was like,
and he's like, don't
man,
you say another
yeah. I
word.
was
Like,
like,
he was like,
he's like, I might
and
not be able to hold back.
yeah,
I'll throw you into another wall. You remember the first time
exactly.
we met a
Yeah,
couple months back?
exactly.
Guess what?
So that can still happen. So yeah, so she, she pushes that button, and of course they're both angry, right?
Yeah.
Because and they're both angry out of a place of love. So they're saying things clearly. Joel doesn't feel comfortable protecting Ellie anymore, and he feels Tommy doing it is the right thing to do because he doesn't want to lose Ellie because he knows he's incapable, like, he can't protect her anymore. So that is out of a place of love, and obviously Ellie, for the place of love for Joel, is like, I don't really trust anyone else. Like, I don't care if that's your brother. Like, I trust you. I don't want anyone else to take me. Like, I want you to take me because we've been building this relationship. We've been together for X amount of time. I need the caring and the trust. The person that I trust is actually you. So she then says, but obviously both of them say some hurtful things that they say out of anger. And Joel kind of is like, yo, you're leaving at dawn, and then we're going our separate ways, slams the door, and then is out, right? And of course, the next morning, we get that slow somber scene, and I think the way they handled that was pretty awesome too. Like, just like, Joel just is packing up a horse, and he's just like, well, he was like, well, I was gonna go steal a horse and then leave. He was like, you could have just asked for one, right? He was like, well, that was about 30 minutes ago. So like
He's just in a
their
weird spot,
dialogue,
man. It was so weird because
yeah,
even like, Tommy with the rifle, he's like,
yeah,
can I have that? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, because
Maria took mine.
Maria took my. He's like, I already said yes. Like, you don't have to.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because
You don't
he's
have to
again,
convince me.
yeah, Joel is so blocked off that he
Yeah,
doesn't, like, you know what I mean? He's having trouble showing a soft side
yeah,
because even with that whole conversation that he has with Ellie, where he's just like, look, you know what? You have the right to make your choice. You know what I mean? And then she's like, let's go, like, immediately, because again, she knows that's the person she trusts. And of course, she wants him to take her because that's who she trusts. Like, she doesn't care if he is not at 100%. That's not the point. She rather go with Joel. If not, she's not going with anyone, right?
yeah.
Or well, she was going to go with Tommy, but not the way that she wanted to. So I thought that was really cool. They end up going on the horse. Um, and yeah, the whole gun thing was hilarious to me. Like, yeah. Also, give them their weapons back. What the, like, you know what I mean? Like, why they, like, they're leaving? Like, can I
I
have
feel
my
like
guns
that.
back?
I feel like that's a moment in the game where I was collecting a bunch of stuff. I was collecting
Yeah,
ammo and everything like that, and then you hit a moment where you lose your weapons, and then you don't get them back, and we're like
yeah.
leaving. I was like, hold on, hey, excuse me, I had
Like,
hours of looting right there, and I want that
like,
back.
you do know how many clickers I had to walk by to get this? You have no idea.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like, yeah, for sure. I get, like, they didn't get their weapons back, but that was okay. And then we all go off onto the horse and we go off to the scene. And I will tell this right now. I knew the scene was coming. I will say I do prefer the game. Like, a lot of the things in this, I've preferred how they've been able to tell some of the story and stuff like that. I will say that I felt like this scene, even though I understand it, was very anticlimactic compared to the way that it was in the game.
Because they were
And
shooting in the building in the game, right?
bro,
You're like, you're like, you
bro, do
run
you
in.
remember? Go back and watch that scene because that scene is intense in the game. Because remember, you're in the building,
Yeah.
right? You're in the so just painting a picture for you guys who haven't played the game because it's not a spoiler anymore because it's not
It's out.
the
Yeah. They're
scene already
not, there's
passed.
not going to go back.
So so basically you're in the game and
Yeah.
remember you're on the second floor. And I know they did this on purpose, but they did things that hinted at what happened in the game. Because remember in the game when he gets stabbed, it's not a nail, it's a piece of glass.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yep.
Because remember when they show that scene when he's looking out the window
Mhm.
and they show the cracked glass?
Yeah.
That was the whole point of showing the glass. So you could see that they know what it was for, right? So you end up fighting those raiders, like you do a raider fight, and it's like a legit like cutscene, and you do some quick time reaction stuff, some QTR stuff. But remember, he's holding one of the raiders is holding Joel on that bar, remember?
Mhm.
And then once he's holding him on that bar, they kind of like Ellie helps him with one person, and then they end up falling over
And
the
he gets,
bar,
yes.
and
Yeah.
then he gets impaled from the glass that's on the ground. So this one, I get why they did it because it was like, well, Joel is losing his senses, like Joel, watch out, kind of thing. So it gives Ellie a little bit more of the, oh, like I could have helped someone, and kind of made her doubt herself a little bit. But I think you could have still went with the way that it was originally done. I guess they didn't want him falling from the building and being able to then walk later on.
Yeah.
So that's why they were just like, oh, let's just find a way to stab him. But my thing is, you could have done it from like a first floor or a shorter floor, whatever. But anyway, the goal was the same. So I'm not upset because I'm just one of the people where it's like, as long as you don't change the premise of why that's happening,
Yeah.
like I don't really like it doesn't really bother me. I'm just saying preference wise, I did prefer the way that they did it in game. And that was kind of like the first moment I've had with the TV show where it's like a lot of the things I'm like, oh, I actually prefer it this way, like the TV show way. This one I was kind of like, oh, we could have still done that pretty dope scene with the Raiders attacking and then them taking some people out and stuff like that. I was like, we could have
With
done
mine,
that.
with mine, it's the test thing, I
Oh,
think.
I don't mind that one.
I don't mind it, but I do at the same time. I like the scene. I just think I like the Fedra like chasing them more a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
but
just want to see
yeah,
more fighting of that. But anyway,
yeah,
but
it's
yeah,
not that big of a deal.
yeah. But
Yeah,
also, but after he gets stabbed or whatever, and they're riding on the horse tracks and stuff.
yeah,
Man, as soon as that scene came up and you see Joel in the front of the horse, I
yeah.
was watching it with Bree and I was like, this, he's like, my man is pale. And
Yeah.
then he fell over. I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
But remember, that's also the way he was in the
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
Turns really thing, and and it was a really great job too by by Bella because she sounded just like Ellie in that when you remember when he falls off
Yeah.
the thing and she was like Joel no, like she sounded just like her. It was pretty interesting. It was just like one of those things that just takes you back. And then I thought, of course, she again pouring out that emotion now, right? Because this is a different set of adversity, and you can hear the love in her voice. She's like, Joel, I can't do this without you. Like, I need you. Like, I can't do this. Like, how am I supposed to find where I'm supposed to go? Like, I can't do this. And it just brought up a very good scene. Also, before one more thing, I thought that was hilarious when Joel is teaching her how to shoot and he shoots. She's like, the gun doesnn't work. Like its thing is off. And then he's like, no, it's not. And he just grabs it and shoots the
Yeah,
thing
it
that
shoots
says
the target.
asshole. Like, so it was hilarious. But yeah, just again, it was a great episode overall in building their relationship. Even with the 3 months that passed, you could tell how much more solid their relationship has become from the incident of Henry and Sam, from when that happens to this episode where they're 3 months into this 3 months in and they're basically like, yo, like Joel is laughing even when they're first going through the stuff. Like a lot of the stuff has changed and now it just did all of that so that we could get to this point and be like, oh yeah, by the way, remember that friendship and that bond that they were building? Take it out. You know what I mean? So because and I remember texting, I was texting my friend Jacqueline and I was like, I don't know why I'm putting myself through this again. And I texted
You know,
Allie.
I Bree
Yeah.
asked me that with the Sam and Henry episode. She's like, "How are
Yeah.
you watching this?" And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know."
Yeah. I told myself, like, I told both of them, I was like, why am I doing this again? Like, I know what's going to happen. And not that it changes any emotions that I'm having. It's just like, I know this is going to happen. I knew I was sad when I played this game.
Yeah,
And now I'm just going through it again. For what? No real reason except that it is fantastic.
it's
The
just a good
show itself is
story.
just great.
Yeah.
It's just one of the best gaming. It's not even, I don't even want to say the best game. It's one of the best stories that I've like participated in, I guess you want to say, because I played it. But
Mhm.
like it's just one of the best stories that I've done. So yeah, it's just great. And I think this adaptation is by far, I mean, I'm hoping as of right now, it's the best adaptation we've gotten from a game to thing. So hopefully, and I don't think they're going to mess it up. I don't think I'm going to have any problems with how the finale goes. So I think it's pretty safe to say that this is the best adaptation we've got. So, before we wrap it up, Chris, what was your favorite part of the episode?
Probably the house conversation,
Yeah.
with the confrontation between the two, and her
Mhm.
overhearing him, and
Yeah.
that moment there, putting Ellie and Joel at the same level,
Yeah.
but two different perspectives. So yeah, that moment was very intense, and you felt, like you said, you felt the love for each other, but they were angry, so
Yeah.
it just kind of fueled it more.
And for me, it would be the when Joel is just telling Tommy like general his genuine emotions of
Yeah,
like why he feels like he can't do this. And Pedro Pascal, like I said, was just absolutely fantastic, putting in that emotion, right? Like that crying, like it's this tough guy that has built this wall is breaking down to his brother. Like he's literally like, it's not, he's like, I can't do it. He's like, Tess got bit. He was like, Tess got bit. What it was like, her dying wish was like to take this girl. Like, what was I supposed to do in that situation?
yeah,
Like, he's just finally has someone who may understand what he's going through, but also someone he trusts fully, like his brother. Like, he's finally able to open and, close that guard, like, open up his guard and be like, this is how I'm feeling. And this is why I need you to do this because I just feel like I can't. And I thought it was just portrayed perfectly. So, that was my favorite part of the episode. So, that is going to wrap it up for us today, guys. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Please let us know what you guys thought of the episode. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. We would love to hear what you guys had to say about the episode. We will be back next week to give you guys episode 7, right? Yep,
mm-hmm.
7. And then I think we only have 3 more weeks, but that, that's great because
The
guess what?
Pedro
March 1st
Pascal train keeps rolling.
begins. Also, a Demon Slayer movie comes out on the 3rd of March, by the way. So we'll talk about that
Well, damn it.
offline. But yeah, so we're gonna have some more content for you guys. So please, we're thankful for you guys always supporting us. But yeah, for until next time, till next week, Fire Team